can't destroy my family's tree!
It's a hazard. I'm saving the neighborhood. But karma has other plans.
I'll never forget that crisp autumn morning in Willow Creek Estates, a quiet suburban neighborhood just outside of Chicago, where the houses all have neatly trimmed lawns and the kind of picket fences that scream American dream. The sun was just peeking over the rooftops, casting long shadows across my backyard, when a guttural roar shattered the peace like a mechanical beast awakening from slumber. At first, I dismissed it as some early bird contractor working on a driveway down the block. But no, the sound was too close, too invasive. It was coming from right behind my house. I slipped on my old leather loafers, the ones I'd worn for years on my morning walks, and hurried outside, my heart pounding with a mix of confusion and alarm. There she stood, Barbara Klein, the self-appointed enforcer of our homeowners association, arms crossed smugly as two burly workers revved a chainsaw into the base of my majestic maple tree. That tree wasn't just foliage. It was a living piece of history, towering over my yard for generations, its roots weaving through the soil like veins in the earth. Planted by my father back when this area was nothing but open fields and dirt roads, long before the subdivision sprang up with its cookie-cutter homes and endless rules. I'd grown up climbing its branches, carving my initials into the bark as a boy, and later, as a man in my 50s, I'd hosted countless barbecues under its shade, watched my grandchildren swing from its sturdy limbs, and even scattered a bit of my late wife's ashes at its base after she passed from cancer 5 years ago. It was more than a trite was my anchor, a silent witness to life's joys and sorrows. I yelled for them to stop, waving my arms like a madman, but Barbara just flashed that condescending smile of hers, the one that said she was always one step ahead. She held up a clipboard, as if it were some sacred document, and barked out, Section 32.4 of the Covenants. Hazardous plantings must be eliminated for community safety. I knew right then this wasn't about any real danger. That maple was as healthy as they come, inspected just last spring. No, this was about control, Barbara's favorite game. She'd been lording over Willow Creek for years, nitpicking everything from mailbox colors to holiday decorations, and now she'd set her sights on me. Little did she know, she'd picked the wrong fight. As the saw bit deeper into the wood, sending chips flying, I felt a surge of rage. This wasn't just an attack on my property, it was an assault on my memories. And I wasn't about to let her win. The maple tree had been a fixture in my life for as long as I could remember. My father, a hard-working factory man from the old steel mills, had planted it in 1952, the year I was born, as a symbol of putting down roots after the war. Back then, Willow Creek was rural Illinois farmland, dotted with barns and silos. Not the upscale enclave it became in the 80s when developers swooped in. I'd inherited the house from my parents, the last original homestead in the neighborhood, and that tree had seen it all. My wedding in the backyard with string lights dangling from its branches, family picnics where we'd grill burgers and hot dogs, laughing until the fireflies came out, and quiet evenings where I'd sit on a bench beneath it, nursing a beer and reflecting on life's turns. At 58, with my kids grown and scattered across the Midwest, it was one of the few constants left. Barbara Klein didn't see any of that. To her, it was an eyesore, a relic that didn't fit her vision of pristine suburbia. She was in her late 40s, a former real estate agent who'd moved in a decade ago, and quickly wormed her way into the HOA board. Everyone knew her type, the busybody who volunteered for committees not to help, but to wield power. She'd find people for leaving garage doors open too long or planting unapproved flowers. And now, here she was, directing these hired hands like a drill sergeant. I planted myself between her and the tree, glaring at the workers until they hesitated, the chainsaw idling with a low growl. "Turn it off," I demanded. "This is private property." One of the guys, a stocky fellow with a baseball cap, looked relieved and killed the engine. The other glanced at Barbara, who thrust her clipboard forward like a shield. "Section 32.4, she repeated, her voice dripping with false authority. "This tree poses a risk, cracks in the bark, potential for falling limbs. It's an emergency removal." I couldn't help but chuckle, though there was no humor in it. "Barbara, there's no such section. I've read those covenants front to back. And even if there was, you can't just trespass and start chopping." The morning air hung heavy with tension, birds chirping nervously from nearby bushes as if sensing the standoff. She narrowed her eyes, that fake smile fading. "Mr. Harlan, the association's welfare comes first." I pulled out my phone and hit record, capturing her in all her glory badge pinned to her blouse like a medal. "For the record," I said calmly, "state your name, position, and the exact rule allowing you to destroy my tree without permission." The workers shuffled uncomfortably, staring at their boots. Barbara hesitated, then spat out her title: Barbara Klein, Chair of the Willow Creek HOA Compliance Committee. Under subsection C of 32.4, addressing immediate threats. It was all bluff, and we both knew it. I emailed the video to my old friend David, a lawyer downtown who'd handled my estate planning after my wife's passing. By the time Barbara and her crew slunk away, promising official notices, I was already fortifying my defenses. That afternoon, I headed to the local hardware store, the kind with creaky floors and helpful retirees behind the counter. I loaded up on security cameras, motion lights, and bold, "No trespassing" signs. The clerk, an old-timer named Ed, raised an eyebrow at my haul. "Deer problems?" he asked. "Worse," I replied. "Human ones." He nodded, knowing no further explanation needed. Back home, I spent hours installing everything, aiming lenses at every angle of the yard. The maple loomed tall and unyielding in the footage, its leaves rustling like a whisper of defiance. By evening, an email from the HOA board arrived, from Michael Donovan, the actual chairman, a sensible guy in his 60s who'd lived here longer than most. "No such rule exists," he wrote. "The board hasn't authorized any action against your property. Forward any notices from Ms. Klein immediately." It was a small victory, but I printed it out, taping it inside my back door as a reminder. As night fell, I sat under the tree with a notepad, jotting down timelines and contacts. Barbara wasn't done. Bullies like her never quit after one round. The air felt charged, like the calm before a Midwest thunderstorm. Sleep evaded me that night, every creak of the house sounding like footsteps. By dawn, I'd brewed a pot of strong coffee and decided to take the offensive. I called the non-emergency police line, reporting the attempted vandalism. "Chainsaw on private property," I explained. Without consent, the dispatcher promised a visit, and soon enough, Officers Ramirez and Lee pulled up in their cruiser, no lights flashing but presence commanding. Ramirez, a veteran with a no-nonsense mustache, and Lee, sharp-eyed and efficient, walked the yard with me, inspecting the shallow nicks in the bark. "You've got video?" Ramirez asked. I handed over a USB drive. "Crystal clear. She even quotes the phony rule." Lee nodded. "This could be trespass if she returns. Keep documenting." They left with copies, advising me to call at the first sign of trouble. Next, I rang David. "Send me everything," he said, his voice steady like always. "This isn't just HOA nonsense, Anna Marie, it's potential felony damage. The tree's value alone pushes it there." I forwarded the arborist's report from Dr. Harold Jenkins, who'd certified the maple healthy, worth over $35,000 to replace. David whistled. If she'd succeeded, she'd be in cuffs. By midday, Dr. Jenkins himself stopped by for a reinspection. He circled the tree reverently, tools in hand. Acer saccharum sugar maple, robust structure, no pests. This could outlast us all. He noted the minor scars but affirmed its stability, updating his report. If she tries again, no court would buy her story. That afternoon, sure enough, a notice slipped into my mailbox in fake HOA letterhead, accusing me of endangering the neighborhood with my unstable tree, demanding removal or $200 daily fines. Signed, Barbara Klein, HOA Director. I scanned it, laughed outright, and fired it off to David and the board. Michael Donovan replied swiftly, "Unauthorized. Disregard. We'll handle this internally." It was the first crack in her facade. But Barbara wasn't one to retreat. Over the next days, more envelopes arrived, fines stacking like bad debts. The neighborhood buzzed texts from folks I'd known for years. "She cited us for bird feeders too. Happy to back you up." I recorded it all, turning my kitchen table into a war room of documents. One evening, I spotted her pacing the sidewalk outside my fence, clipboard in hand, snapping photos. Our eyes met through the camera lens. She waved mockingly. I waved back, teeth gritted. The tension built like a pressure cooker. Neighbors whispered about her overreaches, finding one family for a kiddie pool, another for non-neutral curtains. At a casual block gathering, old Mrs. Thompson confided, "She's been terrorizing us for years." Time someone stood up. I nodded, but inside, I wondered how far she'd go. The air felt thicker, arguments brewing in my mind. Was this just petty suburbia, or something darker, like unchecked power leading to real harm? It sparked debates in my head. Should we tolerate such behavior, or fight back, even if it escalates? Then came the storm. It rolled in from the west, typical Illinois fury winds howling, rain lashing like whips. I watched from my window as branches thrashed. My maple held firm, as it always had. But across the street, Barbara's own elm tree, a tall, neglected thing with dead branches she'd ignored despite complaints, swayed dangerously. Neighbors had warned her. It was a hazard, brown and brittle. Around midnight, a deafening crack split the night. I rushed out. The elm had toppled, crashing through her roof, shattering windows and caving in the attic. Lights flicked on everywhere. Barbara burst from her house, soaked and screaming, pointing at me. "You did this. You sabotaged it, poisoned the roots." Her voice was hysterical, face contorted in the flashing lightning. I stood on my porch, rain pelting me. "Barbara, that's insane. That tree's been dying for years. Everyone knows it." Officers Ramirez and Lee arrived quickly, sirens cutting the chaos. "Storm damage," Ramirez declared after inspecting. "No foul play," neighbors chimed in. "I told her to trim it last summer. It's been an eyesore." Barbara fumed, but they shut her down. As she retreated, her glare promised more trouble. The irony hit hard. Her negligence had backfired spectacularly. But was it justice, or just nature's cruel twist? It made me question, how often do bullies hoist themselves by their own petard, and is it satisfying or sad? The aftermath intensified the drama. City inspectors swarmed her property the next day, citing violations she'd championed, overgrown weeds, structural issues, even the fallen tree as a code breach. She'd lobbied for stricter rules to target others. Now they boomeranged. Notices piled up on her door, fines mounting. In a desperate move, she blanketed the neighborhood with more citations, lawn gnomes, fence heights, even her own house in a bizarre attempt at fairness. It backfired spectacularly. By including herself, she admitted her own neglect in writing. The HOA board called an emergency meeting at the community hall, chairs filled with frustrated residents. Michael Donovan laid it out. "Ms. Klein has no authority for these actions. She's chair of landscaping, only suggesting shrubs, not enforcing laws." Neighbors erupted, sharing stories of her harassment. Barbara arrived defiant, defending her vision for Willow Creek. But the room turned cold. She stormed out, humiliated. Whispers followed. Was she unstable? Dangerous? The debate raged in my mind. Where's the line between community service and abuse of power? I beefed up security, motion lights blazing at night. Alerts pinged constantly, but one early morning, the camera caught her lurking outside the fence, glaring at the maple. No trespass, but the intent was clear. The board emailed. "She's been removed from all roles. Any further contact is fraudulent." Relief washed over me, but doubt lingered. Bullies don't vanish. They plot. It culminated 3 nights later, under a moonless sky. My phone buzzed at 1 a.m. Motion detected. The feed showed Barbara, in dark clothes, sneaking into my yard with a chainsaw. She yanked the cord. The blade roared to life, biting into the maple's trunk. Sawdust flew as she hacked wildly. Heart racing, I called 911. "She's here now, destroying my tree. Dispatch sent units." I stepped out, phone recording. "Barbara, stop. Cops are coming." She screamed back. "This menace ends tonight. I'm protecting everyone." Neighbors emerged, phones out, gasping. Sirens wailed. Ramirez and Lee arrived, ordering her to drop it. She resisted briefly, then complied, cuffed amid curses. The damage was only a deep gash, sap oozing. Dr. Jenkins inspected at dawn. "Unstable now. Has to come down." Watching the crew remove it was gut-wrenching, the tree falling in sections, neighbors watching solemnly. My yard felt barren, memories severed. But justice followed. David built an ironclad case. Videos, reports, testimonies. Barbara faced charges: trespass, vandalism, harassment. In court, the judge dismantled her. Your delusions of authority endangered lives. Sentenced to restitution, $40,000, probation, counseling, and a permanent HOA ban. Fines forced her to sell her house. She moved away, disgraced. Local news covered it. Suburban tyrant felled by her own obsession. The community healed. Neighbors planted a new maple sapling in my yard, a 20-year-old from a local nursery. We added a plaque, the Harlan maple, rooted in unity, felled by one, reborn by many. A block party followed, grills smoking, kids laughing. Willow Creek transformed. The HOA focused on positives, like park cleanups. No more fear, just neighbors connecting. Sitting under the young tree one evening, I reflected, the fight was worth it. Barbarous violence, yes. Chainsaw in hand, was violent, exposed injustice in everyday power grabs. But we rose above, stronger together. The old maple's spirit lived on, teaching us resilience. What do you think? Have you faced injustice or violence from someone in power? Share in the comments. Take a stand on whether bullies like this deserve sympathy or strict consequences. Express your views. Let's discuss how we can combat such unfairness in our lives.